Cape Police have launched a probe following the discovery of 3 bodies at the Siqalo informal settlement in Philippi. The bodies were found yesterday along Veltevreden Road. Authorities say the victims were set alight in what is believed to be a vigilante attack. Police are also saying they are following leads to determine the identity of the victims and track down those responsible for the murders. They've called on community members not to take the law into their own hands. Meanwhile, those who witnessed the incident have have been urged to come forward with information. Now, for reaction on this latest deadly incident in Cape Town, we're joined by the Western Cape Community Policing Forum Secretary, that's Buisile Makasi. Mr. Makasi, good to have you on the program despite the circumstances. What is your immediate reaction to this brutal killing of 3 men in Siqalo, especially given the rising concerns around vigilantism in the Western Cape?
Good evening to you and the viewers. I think from the position of the Western Cape Community Policing Board, we will not condone or promote any behavior that leads to people taking the law into their own hands, whilst we understand that people might be frustrated with what has been happening in the province, in particular in the city of Cape Town, where we have identified plus minus 32 police stations that are classified as crime hotspots. And communities have been making a huge call that there needs to be an urgent intervention that is going to assist communities to address the problem of crime that is currently happening in all these communities that I've mentioned.
From your position within the province, what are some of the underlying social or even policing gaps that you believe are driving communities, especially towards mob justice?
Look, generally, people are frustrated with the slow wheels of the justice system, where people are saying suspects are arrested and suspects are released, they are offered bail. And it looks as if the magistrates or the judges, when they grant bail, it looks as if they don't really consider the circumstances that led to that particular individual being arrested. And they seem also not to take the concerns and the frustrations of the communities into consideration when they are taking those decisions. So generally, people are just frustrated with the whole system.
Yeah. Has the Provincial Secretariat's office had prior warnings or even reports of increasing tensions or similar incidents in Philippi or surrounding communities there?
Look, there's been an ongoing community awareness raising around discouraging people from embarking on vigilantism or mob justice. People are continuously encouraged to work and collaborate with the South African Police Service.
And what role does inadequate policing or even delayed responses then play in pushing communities to then take matters into their own hands? Can you perhaps explain that phenomena?
Look, it's got a huge impact. And if you attend these ministerial imbizos, and this issue is raised sharply by communities. And the fact that most of our police stations are also under-resourced. So the issue of resources, which impacts on the services that is delivered by that particular police station. And communities have been raising these things. And promises have been made that despite the fact that we are aware that we might not get all the resources that we require, but promises have been made that some interventions will be done to assist the police stations that are struggling with being under-resourced. For instance, I'll speak about one sub-district in the city of Cape Town, the Nyanga sub-district. If you speak to all those 9 police stations, all the station commanders and the CPFs, they always tell us that, look, because of lack of resources and the issue of subs vehicles that when they go for repairs in the state garage, a vehicle will stay there more than 3 to 6 months. And if that vehicle is absent, it's not running in the streets. And then what is happening? Surely the police are unable to go out and do the necessary work that is expected from them.
Yeah. What is your assessment of the SAPS's handling of this case so far, particularly regarding early indications that this was an act of vigilantism?
Look, they normally they declare a 72-hour reaction where they will pump in resources, they will work 24/7, and they will work with communities to try and get at the bottom of this. And most of the time, they also go and engage with the communities, working also with the CPFs, neighborhood watches, and community in blue, just to try and sensitize community members that despite all the challenges that I've mentioned, it's still expected of community members not to take law into their own hands.
So vigilantism often signals a breakdown of trust between the community and law enforcement structures. How do you then intend to rebuild that trust, specifically in high-risk areas, much like Philippi?
Look, there are interventions that are being implemented in these areas. For instance, Siqalo informal settlement falls under the Mitchell's Plain police station. And I am aware that the provincial government, together with SAPS, they are hard at work in the Mitchell's Plain area where they are trying to assist the community to deal with the challenges of gang violence and other trio crimes that are reported in that particular area.
So the Siqalo informal settlement has struggled with crime and service delivery challenges for years now, from what we understand. What interventions, if any, are currently underway to then address these systematic issues?
I know there are challenges of housing in that area. There is also a problem of access where emergency vehicles find it difficult sometimes to access the area. And the municipality, together with the community leaders, they've been talking to each other, trying to look at how best can they work together to try and address some of these challenges that I've highlighted, where community leaders are also assisting the authorities in terms of ensuring that they do gain access as and when there is a problem. But the reality here is that we have a very long housing waiting list. And people must also understand that the government is unfortunately going to follow the waiting list. Is not going to have a situation where people, because now of their desperate situation, they're going to jump the queue in the waiting list. So people have to be patient. Hence, we are encouraging that the authorities and communities at all material times, they need to speak together, they need to work together, and they need to have a collaborative approach in addressing some of the social challenges that are faced by communities like Siqalo.
Thank you so much for your time. Busile Makasi is the Western Cape Provincial Secretary, thanking him for his time in shedding light, especially on this deeply troubling incident in Philippi. As investigations do continue, we do echo the call from the authorities there that mob justice is not justice, and it not only deepens the trauma and instability in our communities as well. If you have any information that could lead to or assist the police, please come forward with the information. But also, we will be watching this case very closely, stemming from that incident, the murders of three people in that region.